What's up, YouTube? Drew Nelson here, back again. This time, I'm going to be reviewing Copenhagen Long for you. This is the pretty much classic original chewing tobacco. I'm wearing my South Carolina Gamecock shirt. That's where I go to school. Unfortunately, we got beat by Arizona in the College World Series. I fucking hate Arizona, but props to them. They did play lights out, and we sucked. But anyways, that's why I chew, actually, because we lost. So South Carolina Gamecocks, your baseball team, is enabling me, but I still love you. So anyways, into the dip review. As far as Copenhagen Long Cut is concerned, your grandfather probably chews this stuff if he does chew. Pretty much it is the vintage classic working man's chew. Conjures up images, for me at least, of like ranch hands, people who like are out in the sun, like doing manual labor all day. This is the stuff that they would chew. The reason for that is, number one, it's been around for probably the longest. It's got a nice kind of vintage gold top to it. Again, fucking warning label, but who gives a shit about that? And I still like that they do these paperboard bottoms, kind of like it's like the good old days. And you'll actually notice if you were to take off this wrapper, there's like kind of, it's held together like by glue down here. So like I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, there's probably just some dude that sits in the Copenhagen factory and fucking like glues cans together and shit. I want that to be my job. So if that dude is watching for any reason, you feel like retiring, then I'll fucking take your job in a heartbeat. But so anyways, into the dip review. Go ahead and take one for you guys. So pretty much, as I said before in my earlier video, there's like, if you can't see that right there, there's like a pinch missing from the can already. I don't know why the fuck that is. Probably just Copenhagen attempting to save some money. But nonetheless, it fucking pisses me off. But, we don't let that affect us. So anyways, when you do decide to dip Copenhagen straight, or long cut rather, it is a little bit harder to pinch than pretty much every other form of dip out there. It's a little bit finer. You'll get sometimes little flecks that like fucking, get all over your shorts or like on your hands or anything. That's okay. It's just higher quality tobacco. It's cut up a little bit finer, and it's not treated or flavored or anything. It's pretty much as close to the real thing as you can get. In fact, it is the real thing, in my opinion. But anyways, enough about that. Let's take a dip, huh? So when you do, make sure you get a nice tight pack when you do chew it. Maybe you can see on the bottom or just in the can itself, there actually is like, it looks like water almost, and that's why I love this. It's pretty much like the most moist form of chewing tobacco out there. It's nice and comfortable in your lip, but hey, so I hope you're ready to take a dip with me. Again, if you haven't seen my first video, if you got stuff on your hand like that, just kind of, I like to put it underneath kind of the bottom of my tongue almost, like so. So, it's just an easy way to get stuff off. Don't sit here and like fucking lick your fingers or anything. That's like weird. But anyways, so got a nice spitter, got some Pawn Stars going, so I am set up and ready to go. Initial flavoring, when you do first take, if you've never dipped Cope Long before, you're first going to be hit with this really earthy taste. It's pretty much, it's like some people, as I said before, kind of equate it to putting dirt in their lip. I don't really see that. I can kind of see it a little bit, I guess. But some people, I mean, me personally, if I'm craving kind of a something different than Cope Straight, I like that. It's earthy. It makes you feel like you're, like a hard-working man or something like that. So it's definitely not for first-time dippers. If someone offers you Cope Long Cut for your first dip, say, hey, fuck you, man. I'm gonna do like Skull Cherry or something like that. That was my first dip, actually, Skull Cherry. I think everybody's first dip was Skull Cherry. Am I right? Am I right? But anyways, so as I said, you're gonna be hit with kind of that initial earthy flavor. Um, and it is really robust, but it's very kind of classic at the same time. So if you're, a connoisseur like me, you'll enjoy it. As far as the aesthetics go, as I mentioned, this is pretty much the only can that they use the paperboard bottom on anymore, and really quite a shame because I think that it almost kind of preserves the flavor a little bit better. The plastic cans probably make the can fit, make the top fit a little more airtight. So you don't, you can get more moisture like out of your tobacco. It stays moist and everything. But these ones, you're guaranteed to not kind of have that like synthetic, plasticky flavor or anything like that. The top obviously is just fucking beautiful, as you can see. That nice gold top and everything that Copenhagen usually does, at least on long and straight, I think. It looks a little bit more tarnished to me almost than Cope straight. That might be Copenhagen just trying to give it more of that look like it's been dropped in the mud and dirt, like whilst, herding cattle or something like that. But anyways, the label, as you can see, I like it because it's not as ostentatious as like, blingy as some of the other labels. Like Skull Fruit Blend, I think, is something like that. I don't know. I haven't chewed that shit in forever. But it's really like purple and loud and everything. It looks like a can that would make Andy Warhol roll in his fucking grave if Andy Warhol chewed, which I'm sure he probably did. But anyways, so that's that. If you want to look inside again, and I'll mix it up for you because it's kind of been packed already. It's a little bit finer, as you can see, than say, Skull or Cope Straight or anything like that. It's just, I think it's just because it's better tobacco. They don't compress it so much and kind of take all the moisture out of it. They just kind of leave it and throw it in the can. And if you're wondering also too what the buzz is like, I don't really buzz that much anymore, unless I take a break for like 2-3 days and then take a big like a fatty of Cope Long. That's pretty much the only way that I buzz anymore. But it is probably going to buzz you the hardest out of any of like the quality tobaccos. If you want like a real like hardcore buzz, like something that's just going to make you throw up your fucking guts everywhere for your first time, then I would suggest like Grizz Wintergreen or Grizz Mint or something like that. Grizz is pretty much just the knockoff form of Copenhagen. I really can taste the difference, especially like across flavors. Grizz Straight compared to Cope Straight is just a little bit rougher. It's gonna almost burn your lip a little bit more. Same thing with Cope Long compared to Grizz 1900, I think it is. It's Grizz 1900 actually isn't that bad. It's great if you're on a budget. Cope Long is generally the most expensive of the dips, besides maybe Snuff or something like that. And I think it's priced that high for a reason. I just think it's better tobacco, period. So anyways, there's your can, all that good stuff. So kind of on to another thing, and something that I mentioned in my last video that I'd be talking about. If you're like me and you've dipped for a while, like, I played baseball in high school, so naturally, like, I fucking started dipping, spring of my freshman year. And say you've been dipping for that long and you're like, hey, like, I'm kind of scared, like, am I going to get mouth cancer? Am I going to get, anything like that? These are just kind of some tips, I guess, for not being a pussy, but, just being preventative and, taking good care of your mouth and shit. So number one is switch sides a little bit. Like sometimes, I dip in this cheek, other times I dip in this cheek, sometimes it's in the middle. I just kind of switch it off between every dip. And that's just to make sure that you're not getting like all of it on one side. Um, the way that chewing tobacco causes cancer, if you're wondering, is pretty much if you're constantly putting something in your lip like that, what it's doing is pretty much just suffocating the skin, depriving it of oxygen, and it's going to make your skin dead. That's why sometimes you pull out pieces of dead skin and everything. That's not actually what causes cancer. It's the regeneration of that tissue in there. As your cells regenerate, the way cancer forms is your cells go through, I think it's like 14 or 15 different mutations. So all you're doing is when you put a dip in and you're killing the skin down there, you're just upping your chances of having a mutation occur. So that's pretty much that. Another common theory out there is that, especially with some of the cheaper brands, they really kind of use a ton of fertilizer when they grow the tobacco. So naturally, that kind of transfers over into the dip. And those agents in the fertilizer, they're called nitrosamines, have been shown to, up your chances at having a mutation or something like that. Now, the way that you counteract that, if you're, scared about, constantly dipping and, the chemical aspect of it, number one, drink a ton of green tea. I'm not saying that if you drink, a green tea for every dip that you take, that you're not going to get cancer, that you're going to, make it a wash, and completely eliminate your chances of getting cancer. But there is an antioxidant in green tea. There's actually a ton. Green tea is really, really good for you. And there's antioxidants in there called polyphenols, which pretty much neutralize nitrosamines, which are the things I said before that that give you cancer that they put in the fertilizer. Also, I mean, pretty much going back to the original theory, pretty much the way I've heard it argued before is if I were to sit here and like put a Jolly Rancher in my lip, it would pretty much do the same thing that taking a dip does. That's why if you keep a lollipop like in your cheek for a long time, you'll notice the skin feels wrinkly. So it's pretty much the same thing, the same theory. Obviously, as I said before, dip isn't good for you, but out of all the things out there, it's your best alternative. So number one, drink a ton of green tea. Also, after you take a dip, if even just for cosmetic purposes, just floss and brush and wash out with water and everything. Number one, it's gonna make sure that you don't get any flecks in your teeth or anything like that, which is an easy way to get caught by your parents. Also, it's just kind of a appearance thing. Like if you smile and you've got a shit ton of fucking leaves in there, it's not going to be doing anything to help your smile. So that's that. So just drink a ton of green tea. Supplement with something like turmeric or garlic. Anything with like a sulfurous compound in it is gonna decrease if you ever do get like a tumor or anything like that. A tumor of any sort. Anything with like a sulfuric compound in it is going to kind of shrink that tumor. It's going to attack the cancer cells in it, which is a good thing. So that's that. Also, just make sure, I mean, and this goes without saying, stay physically fit. Obviously, if you're a fat fuck and you're sitting around and drinking Diet Coke and taking dips all day, then yeah, you're probably going to get cancer. But if you take care of yourself, you eat right, you eat healthy, you're not drinking a ton of sugary shit, then you're probably going to be okay. It's, kind of the luck of the draw as far as genes go. For example, my dad's been chewing forever, and he gets the screenings, every 6 months or so at his dentist, and so far doesn't have anything. Let's hope it stays that way, because he's a great man. But his dentist is like, hey, you haven't gotten it now. I'm not sure you're ever going to get it. So there you have it. Green tea, staying healthy. all that good stuff. I'll be posting a little bit more soon, so check back then. Later.